I'm on the boat, we're in the marina and in our berth, and it's time to do a little bit of maintenance. And one thing that I've been noticing lately is that the topsides, all the paint on the side of the cabin and the roof of the boat, is starting to degrade a bit, so it's time to reapply a bit of paint. I'm doing it with a 2-pack polyurethane, and it's a pretty good paint to use. The only trouble is you've got to get the weather right, and I always do it in smaller areas. Set up smaller areas at a time. If you try and do the whole thing, it becomes a real chore. Even on a day like today, the paint's going to pretty well dry as it comes off the roller, so you've got to keep a wet edge and keep on flowing with it. It's a bit of a chore. I'm using a product called Poly-U 400. That's what the boat was originally painted with. It's great paint, it's hard, it's pretty forgiving, it goes on easily, and I really like using it. So what I'm doing on the flatter surfaces, okay, the first thing we have to do is clean everything up, and I use just a Bunnings brand wax and grease remover. So the deal with this is, put it on first, and then wipe it off. Once I've done that, I've been using just a little hand palm sander with a 240 grit paper on it, and it's just a matter of rubbing over the surface. I won't do this because I've already done it, but rubbing over the surface and just giving it a light buff up. Any areas that are damaged, you could probably work a little bit harder on them, but most of the big areas, just a light buff up with the 240 grit. And after that, it's virtually down to whacking some paint on. So look, great product to use, ends up really hard and durable, and it's been 10 years since I painted it last time, and it really didn't need painting again, but it was getting to the stage where it was starting to degrade a little bit, so I thought, well, before it becomes a big job, let's get in and do it. And I've got a couple of months to play, so I like being at Bev's house, but not as much as being on the boat. So yeah, I'm down here doing a few chores while we're in the one spot for a month or two. It's important when you're mixing the paint, it's a 2-pack system, so you get 4 litres of the paint, and it comes standard in a really nice white. I think you can colour it, but it becomes a bit more complicated if you put colour in and getting tints right and all that, so I just use the white straight out of the can. And then there's the hardener. It comes in a standard cure hardener or a fast cure hardener. I find that the standard cure works alright. If you wanted to get a couple of coats on in a day, you might look at using the fast cure. But so you've got 4 litres of the paint and a litre of the hardener, part B. So you have to mix them up. You mix this at a ratio of 4 to 1, and using a mixing graduated container like this is the best way to do it. So if I want to mix that much paint, that's where I mix the part A to. So I fill that up with the paint to part A, then the part B, the hardener, that goes in up to the B mark, and then these 2 little marks here are for brushing thinners. So you've got, I think it's 5, 10, 15% of brushing thinners. And the brushing thinners I use is called Thinner 754. That is the actual thinner for putting on with a brush or a roller. There's a different one for spraying, but that's the brushing thinners you use. You don't use a lot of that, so 4 litres is plenty to buy on most jobs. And the cleaning thinners is called 747. That's for just clean up. So you do use a little bit more of your clean up thinners. So I've got 8 litres of that for this job, but I'm not through 4 litres of it yet. So they're the 2 types of thinners, but definitely when you're putting on with a roller or a brush, make sure you use a brushing thinners. It just makes it flow out a lot easier, and it lets the paint settle down, and you know, you get a nice glossy smooth finish by using the brushing thinners. On all the areas I'm using a microfiber 4mm nap roller. Okay, the one thing I found with this Poly-U product is the foam rolls, which would probably give you a better finish. They don't really last that long. You probably get 20 minutes work time out of them, and then the foam starts to fall apart, so you're replacing rollers all the time. And I've decided to try it this time with the short nap roller, just on a rolling frame, and that's how I'm applying it. and it's coming up. You can see it's not too bad. It's not a mirror finish like you'd find out of a mould, but for this old boat, it's pretty good, and it's nice and hard and durable. So that's how I'm applying it. Definitely gloves, and I usually double glove or sometimes triple glove. So put a couple of pairs of gloves on at a time, and then if they do get a bit grubby, you can pull one pair off and have clean gloves underneath. So it's worth double gloving or triple gloving sometimes. And yeah, definitely need gloves. Probably throwaway overalls, something like that as well, would also help to keep you a bit cleaner. Okay, so we're going to measure out a bit of paint. The other thing about this, the paint in the 4 litres of paint you've got, it's very well mixed, nothing on the bottom, so you don't have to worry about really stirring it, or it doesn't usually have any sediment on the bottom. It's pretty well filled in. So when we're mixing the paint, what I'm going to do first is fill this to, we're working at a 4:1 ratio, so we look around the top of the thing and find the 4:1 ratio marker there. So you can see this is 4:1. So I'm going to put that much paint in first, and then we'll fill the rest up with hardener. There's your 4:1 ratio, and then we add, I usually add about 10% of brushing thinners. So that's what we're going to do. When you are applying this paint, especially on your fair areas, your flat areas, it's important not to mix too much up. You get a good hour or two pot life out of it, but when you're rolling it on, you've got to make sure that you maintain a wet edge. So I just start in one corner, roll it down, and just keep on moving across and maintaining that wet edge. Okay, so I just go over that, make sure there's no roller marks in it, nice and lightly roll out any roller marks. Be aware that sometimes these nap rollers do leave a bit of fur in it, but not very often. They're pretty good. Okay, so I'll work on this job, I'll work from there up to this break here, and then the next bit I'll do will be coming down from the top, and I'll run it to that edge, but not too much overlap, because when you're applying it, it lasts in the pot for about probably 3 or 4 hours, and actually if you have a bit left over and you want to use it the next day, if you put it in a container and stick it in the fridge, it will last and go on all right the next day, so you can use it like that. But once you've applied it, if you're using the brushing thinners, it's starting to go off now, especially in this sun. You'd find if I went back over this bit I've done, it would be tacky, so you've got to just keep working the wet edge along, and not going back over work you've already done. If I touched it there, it would just lift the paint off and leave a bad finish. So just work in smaller areas. I only mix up enough. I'll probably do the back part of the boat in one day, and then the next day I'll come back and put 2 coats on. You need to put 2 coats on with this roller to give you good durability and UV protection. So yeah, look, it's a good product to use. That's how I do it there. Around the bulwarks it's a bit easier because they're not a gloss finish, so you can roll it in there. And look, honestly, it sticks to anything really, but if you just prep it up with the grease and wax remover first, and maybe give it a light rub, you shouldn't have any trouble with this product adhering. It really does stick well. So all good.